Hi, this is Tim back with another video. Tim Got It Sold. This is the last video in the Now What series. I made this Now What series specifically for my existing clients to be able to know what they need to do at every step of the process and what to expect so that they can be fully informed and make great decisions. This is my favorite one, closing. After we've signed our contract, been through inspections, been on the market, had appraisals done, now we're ready to close. So this video we're going to cover what's going to happen on closing day, before and after, and what to do. Thanks for tuning in. After the appraisal is done, really the last hurdle is paperwork. There are tons of documents and things that I'll need to do, and I'll be working directly with the attorney and the buyer's agent to get all of these things completed in time for the closing. After the title is back, the attorney will reach out to me to schedule a specific time and date for the closing. Most attorneys that we use have multiple locations, and I'll confirm the location that works best for you and the buyer. I will be present at the physical closing. I'll explain everything that's going to be signed so that you understand fully. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I want to make sure that you understand everything that is signed. The good news for sellers in Georgia is that there's very little to sign. There's anywhere from 11 to 13 documents depending on the attorney that we use, and so your portion is very easy. Sometimes the buyer isn't present. If that's the case, we might be in and out in as little as 15 minutes. However, most closings take anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, sometimes as long as an hour. As far as closing costs, there are 4 things in Georgia that the seller must pay regardless of who you sell the property to and how the property is sold. In some cases, the buyer may ask for some additional closing cost assistance, but that's separate from these things. These things are required in Georgia regardless of whom you sell the property to. In Georgia, sellers must pay property tax prorated to the day of closing. So for example, if you closed June 1st, you would pay half of the property tax owed for that year. If you closed in December, you would pay almost all of the property tax due in that year. It's prorated to the day of closing, and typically, unless the new bill has come out, they use the old bill to determine what is owed. The second thing a buyer must pay in the state of Georgia is the final water bill. In Georgia, water bills create a lien on the property and they must be settled at closing unless it has already been paid for prior to closing. The third thing you must pay in the state of Georgia is anything your HOA charges to close out your account with them. Homeowners associations typically charge what they call a closing letter, and this covers your cost to close out your account, make sure everything is fully paid, and that you're in good standing with them. Typically, the attorney will pay this directly and you will reimburse the attorney at closing. The fourth thing you must pay in the state of Georgia is what is called a post-closing fee. This fee covers anything that the attorney has to do on your account. If they need to wire any money to a mortgage company, this covers that fee. It covers the fee to transfer and record the deed with the county. And any sort of work that they need to do for you. Most attorneys in this area charge anywhere from $75 to $150 for this fee, for the post-closing fee. Most often I recommend that my sellers get a wire transfer for their funds at closing. Most attorneys will give you the option if you would prefer a check or a wire. I strongly recommend getting the wire. Most banks will put a hold on a large check for up to 2 or 3 weeks. If you need to use your funds sooner than that, I strongly recommend you get a wire. You'll have access to your funds in the same day. Although funds do go through the Federal Reserve, if they're sent by 3 or 4 p.m. in the afternoon, you will typically have them the same day. After closing, there's a couple things that you need to do. First, contact your mortgage company. Let them know you've closed on the property and give them your new forwarding address. They will refund everything that's in your escrow account, everything that they've been collecting to pay your taxes and your insurance. You might be surprised at the size of the refund you'll get from them. The next thing you need to do is contact your insurance company and cancel your homeowner's insurance. Homeowner's insurance is paid for in advance, so as soon as you close, you are due a refund, a prorated amount that you have not used. Again, they'll ask you for a forwarding address and refund that back to you as well. The third thing I would suggest is that you go to USPS.gov and enter in your information to have your mail forwarded. That process is technically free, but they do charge a small amount on a credit card to verify your identity. It's usually less than $1, and the whole process takes less than about a week and a half for all of the mail forwarding to begin. Finally, don't forget about your utilities. Most people think that they should have their utilities turned off. That's really difficult for the buyers. If the water and electricity and gas are all turned off, it can take 2 to 3 days to get those things turned back on. Most of the time, I will have already communicated your specific utility companies with the new buyer. In that case, what I'll ask you to do is, on the day of closing, call your utility company and terminate your billing. They will stop billing you at midnight that night, and the next day they'll start billing the buyer with no interruption in service. Finally, here's a big close from me. If you feel like you've had great service, please tell the broker that that's the case. They're going to reach out to you and ask you about your experience. I hope you would tell them that it was a 10. Also, I'll be sending you a link asking for a review from Zillow. That means a lot to my business. But the most important thing is referrals. If you know anyone else who needs to sell a property, please tell them about me. Put me in touch, give them my information, whatever you need to do. My business is driven by referrals. From all of us here at Tim Got It Sold, thank you. If you have other questions we didn't cover, please let us know in the comments below, and we'll cover it in a future video. Thank you. Have a great day.